with our second research question about, what evidence is there that they're developing, understandings that are going to help them, be ready or, algebraically ready. And I think that what I liked about this lesson is that it, more than pushing the ones that are important, it just helps see, what are their understandings? What do they understand, what do they not understand? What understandings, what misconceptions, etc. do they have? And what I was struck by more during the lesson, sort of thought of, where could you go from here? Because I have a couple of thoughts of, it almost feels like now we've brought up some, and now as teachers and as algebra teachers, we can say which are more or less important in terms of understanding algebra. But now we've seen all the things they've brought up, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's probably more we didn't see, but we've seen a lot of things they've brought up. And then we can say, okay, things like recognizing when do you need to combine like terms and when don't you. That's a really important concept for algebra. So then I could see sort of as some future just integration into daily class, a daily routine, weekly routine, of the way I think of it is that you can have your glasses with your lenses, and you have different lenses. I have these glasses I bike with, and I can put the clear lenses in, I can put the yellow lenses in when it's rainy, I can put the dark lenses in when it's really sunny out. And it's sort of okay, today we looked at equation, inequality, expression. But within expression, we came up with combining like terms and not combining like terms. Now, I'm going to give you 10 things, both equations, inequalities, and expressions. Let's put on our combining like term lens, and let's see let's not look at these three. Let's just look at which of these can you combine like terms. And another day, you can look at a different lens. Which one can you solve for an unknown? Which of these has a proper, which of these do we use properties at all? Because even the ones that aren't written like properties, you're using properties to solve a lot of those equations. So sort of, here's all the things that they came up with. And I could see returning to some of them of that sense of let's look at it with this lens. Now let's look at it with a different lens. Because I think that from my limited 6 months experience teaching algebra, that is a huge thing of the kids who are successful. And that's what we've talked about when we planned this lesson is, how do you help students develop these instincts so that they don't just look at it and say, what do I do? And a huge thing I have now is they look at it and they do some work and then they say, am I done? They don't know when some of them don't know what to do, and some of them don't know even if they're done. Because they're not sure what it would look like when they were done. And so helping to develop these instincts, I think, a piece of it is having in your head all these different lenses that you can look at things with.
So do you think what the experience the kids had today, you see it as sort of a first step in helping to develop those instincts?
Yeah, I mean, I could really see today sort of just opened up the fact that are these different lenses. Kids at the end saying, I realized there was categories within categories. Mm-hmm. And we had said, we chose when we planned it to go to the equation, inequality, expression thing. We felt okay, at a minimum, we'd like every student to leave here today understanding those three categories. And hopefully they understand that there's even more categories within those, or even combining. And so, but I think it's important to see that just because those are expressions, and you can say, well, some I can combine like terms and some I can't, the same thing holds true with inequalities and equations. Because so many misconceptions in algebra, I mean, a good example is you have an equation that's 4x plus 3x equals 10, and then you have an equation that's 4x equals 3x plus 10. Sometimes you have two sets of a variable on one side of the equals, and then you have them on both. And kids just end up memorizing this rule. When they're on the same side of the equal sign, I combine them. When they're on different sides, I take away, one. But they kind of learn that thing. But this would really help see that, it depends what lens you're really looking at it with.